Hello there, my name is Ismaus, and today we're going to be looking at how to make this scene in Blender 2.8. And so it's a kind of a 90s retro urban cities street that I wanted to do, and I think it explores quite a lot of workflow that you can copy and replicate in your own projects. So this is what we're going to be doing. So what I started with was to kind of first create something like a sprite, not exactly a sprite, but just wanted to keep everything simple. I wanted to center my scene around that video a video store. That's what I started with here, creating the modeling the store itself. I'm just creating the window frames here. I'm using mostly the bevel tool, which you can access using the shortcut Ctrl B to bevel that, to give that, or to duplicate, to kind of split one edge loop into two edge loops, or even more, by using your middle mouse wheel to scroll to add more loops. So I'm also utilizing other assets or models that I have created previously, because there is no reason for you to recreate everything from scratch every time you work on a project. And always when I'm working on a project, I keep in mind that I might want to reuse this asset later in the video. So I spent a little bit of time on the asset so that it's a clean asset. When I reuse it, it can work in any project that I want to work on. Yeah. So, and sometimes I also go further on and bake the textures, the shaders that I'm using into PBR textures, so that my scenes render faster. Because if you don't bake the textures, the kind of a shader with a lot of nodes kind of slows down the render times. And if you are going to share the project files with someone else, PBR shaders are easier to work with than shaders with tons and tons of with hundreds of nodes, not exactly hundreds, but a lot of nodes. So this is what I'm doing, just going back to the texture, to the assets, and tweaking them a little bit so that they can work with my scene much better. And here I'm just adding these I think I'm not sure, pavement blocks, whatever they're called, to kind of create my scene and make the street look much better. If you have watched my previous videos, you can see how I made these assets and how I did the texturing for this. Maybe I'll do a step-by-step tutorial on how to set up the reusable assets or reusable textures in the future. So here I'm just creating the glass window, and I'm adding a ground map to kind of break up the reflections on the glass to make it look more realistic. And I'm trying out different materials. I think here I wanted to make it a little bit dirty. That's why you see me unwrapping it and then adding that image. So again, I'm trying to reuse a lot of assets that I've created in different projects. And here I had already made this retro TV set. So I'm just importing it, linking it directly into Blender, so that I can just reuse it instead of creating it from scratch again. And yeah, so it uses PBR textures, so that's why everything looks, I think, quite realistic. And I'm just moving things around and just duplicating this. So because I'm linking I've not just copied the TV set from another project into this project. Before I talk about that, let me show you something here. So if you hit F3 and search for random, you can randomize the rotation, scale, and position of your objects, like you saw me do there. So that's a nice trick if you want to randomize different objects. I was trying to randomize their Z rotation to make them look a little bit, each of the video sets to be a little bit tilted or slightly rotated in the scene. Yeah, so I was talking about linking the project. So if you just import the projects as linked objects, you can duplicate them as many times as you want without suffering any computation power. So that's why you see me appending the objects instead of just copying and pasting, linking the objects instead of appending them, or just copying and pasting them directly into this project. So here I'm just again, I created a bunch of doors from a previous project. I'm just reusing them here. So the doors I had previously were more for a home door, but this is a home building. This is more of a commercial building, so I tweaked the door a bit, removed some details and added a few just to make it fit the scene we are going for here. And you can see me here just changing it a bit to make it much better. So yeah, this is another building I had in the previous projects. So you can see me here copying it directly, and where you see those door frames, I just use booleans to cut out places for those. It's much easier than editing the mesh and deleting faces. So that's why you see those boundary boxes. So here is another tip. I didn't want to UV unwrap everything and go to Photoshop and start painting. What I just duplicated the plane and moved it about a few pixels from the main surface, so that I can just slap it onto the surface so that it looks like we have two layers of textures onto that surface. And I'm using alpha masks here to mask off different parts of that texture so that it can blend in seamlessly into that area. As you can see me here, exactly what I'm doing. So here I'm adding a third layer. So the first layer is the concrete, that brownish concrete, and then I add a paint layer, that bluish layer. It's also a second plane over the concrete surface, and then I'm adding that layer on the bottom. Then you can also see when I go to what is it called, into workspace view, I can see me. I'm not sure what the shade, the viewport shading. You can see the different layers in different colors. So yeah, now I'm working on some lighting here. Since this is a dark scene, I'm trying to reduce the power, keeping the power of the lights a bit down. So when I was creating these doors and windows, I made sure that the glass area was translucent, has a translucent, not transparent, but translucent. Because if you use transparent, then you would have to build the insides of that room so that there is something to view. But if you make it translucent, the light is not transparent enough for someone to see what is inside, but it makes the area a bit glowing like that to kind of make it seem like there is something in the room, as you see there. So, and now I'm cutting out a flame for this window here, so that I was planning to add a supermarket area there, as a small shop in that, because I also have, I think they're called ISOs, where these frames where they place different products. I have those, but I guess I was lazy. I didn't add them there, but I was planning to do that. That's why I added a transparent. You can see the difference between a transparent surface and a translucent surface. With the translucent, with the transparent, you can see what is on the inside of that room, and you can tell that it's empty. And for this, where there are screens, you can tell that there are screens there. So that's why I chose translucent for the windows, for those lit up windows, instead of transparent, because I didn't want the viewer to be able to see what's on the inside. Here I was trying to change the colors to add an image for the screen to turn them on, but I ended up not using the steps that I was trying to use here. So you'll see me later turning on the screens with an emissive shader. Later I'll show you how I did that. Here I'm using the same technique that I used on those decors. The leaks that I was layering over the walls is the same technique here, but in this instance I'm just using them for the road marks, and it's just basically a texture, a plane with a texture, and then an alpha mask to blend it or to kind of make it worn out in some areas. So that's why you see it makes your workflow quite faster, instead of just going in on a texture and then try UV unwrapping it and texturing it at the same time. So you can see here I'm applying the same texture on a text, and this text is editable, so I can change it to any text I wanted. So if I didn't want it to say stop, I can make it say something like giveaway or no way, something like that. So you can change it to whatever you want. Here I'm adding other decors. Again, the decor is just a plain texture, a plain mesh with a texture with an alpha mask, and I just move it a few pixels away from the wall to make it blend in. You can see how. Yeah, so this technique is I've seen it used quite a lot in Unreal in Unreal Engine. So that's why I'm trying to replicate it here, and I think it's a very, very great way to add details. Yeah, I'm just giving this a slight rotation so that can make this look better. Yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is the kind of videos or content I'm going to be producing now, because yeah, a lot of people some people don't want to watch time lapses because you need to be a little bit more skilled in Blender to watch a time lapse and gain something from it. So I'm just going to make a blend of the two, because most people who know how to use Blender don't really want to watch step-by-step tutorials because they're very, very repetitive. Yeah, I'm just adding a few extra details. I'm also adding these nice these torn out papers. I think Ian Hubbard has a good tutorial on how to do that. So if you want to watch that, you can search his videos and see how he does that. Here I'm just adding more road marks, just using a texture and then a plane instead of just going into Photoshop and doing it there. It's much easier, and I can move these around quite nicely. So if you're a Patreon, you can ask for the project files and I'll be able to send them to you. It just helps me keep the lights on and make sure that I can be able to do this stuff. Because I'm also using this workflow of using just different planes for adding details instead of textures, they can be used in other softwares like Unreal Engine or Cinema 4D or any other 3D application. So because I sell 3D models, I'm also going to be putting this up for sale, because I found that they actually sell very well, and especially if you if you bake out the textures into PBR textures, they sell quite nicely, quite fast, and people like them quite a lot. So I'm going to be doing that and putting them up for sale as well. So I'm just adding this neon light, video light. Again, I added a text object, and then converted it into a curve object, then gave the curve a bevel thickness to make it have that kind of pipe effect. Here I'm just adding kind of a surface for those neon lights to sit on. I think I forgot to texture this. I don't remember texturing that part, but anyway. So if you're using Eevee to add emissive shaders, Eevee doesn't render or doesn't support mesh lighting, meaning that you can't have a surface emit, you can't have meshes emitting light. Only lamps can emit light, so it makes it very hard for you to make a neon sign like this. So if you want to make it seem like it's actually glowing, giving off light, like you see in the video there, you can just create a point light and give it a very large radius. That will light up the entire surface, making it seem like the light is being emitted directly from the neon lights, as you can see. I wanted one of the lights not to be lit up, to be kind of defected or broken, so that it's not giving up light. That's why you see that I turned it off and I removed the lights that was the lamp that was over that surface, so that it's appearing like it's not lighting. So I also wanted to break up the road reflections, so I added this roughness map or grind map onto the roughness. I created this custom shader here. I think I'll be giving it away to my patrons, maybe for free on Blender. I'll be giving it away for free, not even to my patrons. So yeah, here I was trying different ways to give these to turn on the screens without doing too much work going into the texturing the image. The way I was trying here didn't work very well, so I decided against that. And you see what worked for me very nicely shown here. Let's see, what do I do next? Okay, here, so I wanted to add in more details. So here I'm creating, I'm just copying an image, sorry, a building that I created previously for another project, and I'm using it here. So it wasn't, the scene I was creating, the previous project was a daytime scene, so the windows were not lit up. So what I'm doing here is adding some light to that scene. And what you're seeing there, I wanted to add the lights, but I didn't want to duplicate a light for every single window. So what I did is I parented the area light to a mesh, and if you go to the object data of the mesh, you can turn on instancing, vertex instancing, meaning that any object that is parented to that mesh will be duplicated on the vertex of that mesh. That's what I did here. So I just duplicated the vertices for that mesh on every window, meaning that for every window there will be a light source because this area light is being parented to that mesh. And you can see here I'm just duplicating that light, those vertices, and moving them down. You can see the light source is also duplicated with that as well because it's parented to the object with vertex instancing. And you can see now I just wanted to add a few extra windows here. Yes. Okay, so now I wanted to create a sign for this video store, and what I did is I just created a mesh and did exactly this, for inserting, beveling, very basic steps. And what will make or break that sign would be the texturing. So that's why I don't really care that much about modeling, just making it simple and very basic, because I know the texturing is what will bring out the sign. So I'm just searching for textures to use here, and yeah, so I didn't want to start from scratch, so I reused the texture I'm using for the worn out posters on the windows, and I'm trying to replace it with an image with a video store poster sign. So that's what I'm doing here, and you can see the nodes that you can see there are not that complicated. They're very simple. So I have a noise map that is creating that that is breaking up that texture to make it seem like it's worn out. And again, Ian Hubbard has a good tutorial on explaining how to do that. I'm just going over very quickly here because it's not the main focus of this tutorial. So yeah, so I'm using vertex paint to select out the area because I wanted the back of the sign to be metallic, and only that area where the banner is to be non-metal, and also to be translucent. So I'm using vertex paint to set vertex paint to shade that, to create a vertex paint mask for that area. And yeah, so here I'm preparing the shader I'll be using for that area. I want that area to be metallic, so you're going to see me here creating okay, so you can see that I'm using vertex paint, the vertex mask that we created to tell Blender which parts should be metallic and what parts should have that texture. And I'm breaking up that metallic surface with a roughness, with a grind map here. Just a moment. and I'm adding a light inside there because that poster or that banner has a translucent shader. It makes it seem like there's a light source. There's a light source inside there. So let's give it. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, also borrowing another building that I used for a different for the previous project here to add extra details. You can see I also wanted it to be lit, to have some lights on turned on the inside. So I mean, using the same technique, parenting a light source to a mesh and then turning on a vertex instancing for that mesh, so that every vertex has a lamp on it, and then I just move those vertices to move the lights instead of going around duplicating the vertices. And I'm just playing around with the shader to control it, and so that it can render much better. Okay, here I realized the windows were too large for the building, so I scaled them down, and I also scaled down the boolean object that is cutting those holes for the windows. Now I'm just trying to detail this a bit, and I realized that the textures were too plain and too clean. So here I'm trying to break them up and maybe make the building a little bit colorful. And I'm also using these meshes that we created previously to kind of adding those dirty spots or dirty areas onto the walls. Just adding a few extra details here. I'm just adding that I think it's a balcony, just duplicating it. I'm reusing quite a lot of assets that we have. You can see the meshes that we are using to add in those dirt areas onto the surface. I duplicated the building so that I can have another block here, but it looked too similar to the others, so I just changed a few things about it, like the textures. I changed those around to be different textures. If I spent a few more an extra minute on this project, I could have added more details. So here I'm trying to turn on some of the screens. So what I did is I imported some images, some GIF images, but Blender doesn't import GIF images. You can see I'm trying to bring it into Blender, but Blender doesn't recognize it. So what I did is I went to our website. I went to Google and typed in, I'm just searching whether Blender supports GIFs, but I went to Google and searched for GIF to MP4 converter, and found a website that can convert GIFs to MP4s, and I just use that to convert the GIFs to MP4, and now I just easily import them into Blender and have them as a texture. You can see the even playback, so I just have to unwrap them and yeah, let's see what we have. Let's make sure that you connect the color to both the diffuse and the emissive channel. Now I just wanted to place this screen over the other screens because I didn't want to touch the original file of that. I just I duplicated the screen itself, and now I just slap it on top of the surface so that I can easily replace it that way. And you can see now I'm just duplicating this, and to align the screen much easily, I just first of all snap the cursor onto the surface you want to duplicate the scene, and then snap you want to add the screen to, and then snap the screen itself onto that area, and then copy the rotation and the rotation of the screen or the original TV set. Copy the rotation to the screen you want so that the rotation is the same, as you can see there. If you slow this down, you can see me copying rotation of the TV set to the screen itself so that they align correctly. I think that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.